Oh, you didn't know? Well, you better call somebody. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Front Row Material proudly brings to you the hottest podcast tandem in the world, the real deal Ritt, the Rockstar Renegade, 6 degrees of Ritt and Renegade.
And if you're not down with that, I've got 5 words for you. Let's get ready to ramble! Damn.
Yes, sir.
Renegade, another week of the Front Row Material brand. And here we are kicking it off Monday at 8 p.m. 6 degrees of Ritt and Renegade. How you doing?
I'm doing good, my man. I hope you had a good Christmas. Hope you all had a good Christmas. They go by so fast anymore, man. Another one in the books.
Yes. And now, oh man, I read something somewhere. Oh man, what did it say? I think Mikey's the one that retweeted it. He's like, there's 364 days of the Christmas, and some jackasses have their Christmas lights up already. It took me a while to, I'm like, wait, what? And I'm like, oh shit, yeah, guess so. Oh man. So Jersey Devil in the house like he always is. How you doing?
What's up, man?
So, man, I hope you had a good Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. So, but man, big week here on the Front Row Material brand. Tomorrow night, we've got one half of the TNA Knockouts, beautiful people, Angelina Love. Friday night, Future Stars Now. We've got Fox Vineyard from PPW, but he's making he's making an AEW Dark debut. So we're gonna sit down, talk to him, see how he's doing. Calls a Beardo Thursday, 8 p.m. It's myself, Renegade, Big Daddy Butt, and the lovely Taylor Marie will be back. And then, of course, tomorrow, not only do we have Angelina Love, but also we have the year-end awards. The finals are in, the votes are counted, and we're going to let you guys all know what happened, who won, and who got the snubs. But tonight, Renegade, man, let's talk wrestling. Let's start down the old rabbit hole.
Yeah, well, first of all, I just want to say, glad you had a good Christmas there, Jersey Devil, and congrats to your son passing the driver's. That's got to be a hard to come to terms with that, like this age. I'm sure you're reflecting back on all the years. But my best to him, and good luck on the driving course. But I want to ask you, because this is something that's kind of bothered me for a while. Your thoughts on wrestlers looking at the hard cam when they're doing their finishing move.
Well, first off, Mike World Order, hey, yo to yourself, man. But, man, I've always...
I fear no hard cam.
Oh, man, Renegade fears the hard cam. There ain't nothing hard that Renegade's ever feared, let me tell you, brother. He ain't just doing the job for nobody.
I'm not commenting on any of that.
But, no, it always bothered me when I always felt by facing the hard cam, it was too forced. like Brock Lesnar, John Cena, just to name a few, that they will pick you up for the finisher, and then no matter what they are, they will turn to make sure the hard cam gets the whole shot.
Yeah, I always picture it's John Cena's face. He turns, looks at the hard cam, he yells something, whatever. You know,
I've now. Don't get me wrong. It's the WWE teaching, you know, to get the money shot. But oh man, exactly. Jersey Devil says Force is pointing at the WrestleMania sign.
Yeah, it's corny.
You know,
it's super corny. Now, I will make an argument for it. Right, I'm against it. I don't like it, but I will make an argument for it. Because you see this in other places too. Like when you're watching a live concert, not at the concert, but you say you're watching a DVD of a live concert. The bands on stage will come up to the camera. They'll look into the camera, you know, and that's a nod to the people not in attendance, but the people watching at home. So, in my argument for looking into the hard cam, it's a nod to the people watching at home. It's for them. But I don't like it because it feels unnatural and it takes you out of the moment of realism. At least for me, it does. You know, if you think about other wrestlers who don't do that, Randy Orton. Randy Orton doesn't look for the hard cam before he hits an RKO. You know, Kurt Angle didn't look for the hard cam before he put somebody in the ankle lock. We were talking a little bit before, and we mentioned the Bret Hart and Austin.
Yes.
So he gets him in the sharpshooter. No one's looking at the hard cam. They're actually angled to the hard cam. The handheld guy has to come around, and he's getting in Hart's face, and he's getting in Austin's face, and he's catching all of these moments because that's what makes it feel real. And it almost leads me to another question of what makes a match great. You know, if you look at the hard cam before your finisher and it takes you out of the realism, it almost breaks the story for me. So if it's story that makes a match great, you've ruined it by doing that. With the Austin and Bret Hart moment, that match was so great because of the story they were telling. You know, Austin's in the sharpshooter, he's bleeding profusely, and he passes out in the move. And it was such a intense and built-up moment. But if one of them stopped and looked at the hard cam and made some face to the fans at home, you lose everything in that match. You've lost your entire story, at least in my honest opinion.
Yeah, definitely, because like if you go and look back, another one, Shawn and Flair, like that was kind of hard cam, but it wasn't because of the way the angle Shawn and Flair set up for the finisher, set up for the finish of the match, and it was the guy that was the mobile guy picking up those shots of Shawn's face, of Flair's face, you know, which made it more, you know, quintessential for them. You know, I'm a big Rock fan. You know, me and Dwayne go way back, and it was crazy because The Rock would do the exact same thing when he did the People's Elbow. But that, I believe, was, like you mentioned earlier, a nod to the people at home. You know, that
right, because he doesn't do that when he does the Rock Bottom.
No, but you know, it's the people's elbow. It's the people at home. He wants you to connect with him, and a lot of people get a misconnection. You know, when it's forced. Like Undertaker would be another one, you know, doing the tombstone. Sometimes it just seemed a little too forced compared to when he did or does a choke slam, or when he was the American Badass when he did the last ride. You know, he didn't pan for the hard cam. It's almost, you can almost make it to believe that you can wait for the hard cam look to see if it's a true finish or a false finish, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it gives away the ending. See, I would prefer if Brock gets somebody up for the F5. Don't look at the hard cam. It wouldn't matter to me so much if you caught your eye to it in passing, but to stop and pose for it, basically, pick the guy up, walk around the ring, and play to the fans in attendance, and then give him an F5. So you're gonna catch your face around the hard cam, but don't stop and glare into the hard cam before you do the finisher, because, like you said, I think it tips you off to the end of the match.
Jersey Devil comes up with a great point here. You know, looking forward into the hard cam, a big no. But looking into the hard cam on the camera on promos, yes.
Yeah, I agree. That could play into, you know, because if they're out there by themselves and they're talking into the camera, in my mind, they're hoping that their opponent is watching this, maybe backstage on a monitor. So you, in a sense, they're talking to them, not talking to us at home. That's in a way kind of how I look at that. But yeah, doing promos for the hard cam makes more sense. And I agree that it's situational too. I do think there's times where you don't necessarily have to look at it. You can kind of pace around the ring or whatever to the fans in attendance. But
yeah, if you got two guys going face to face, you know, each other cutting promos, like we're say one instance, The Rock and Hogan, you know, The Rock and John Cena, like they went back and forth looking at each other, not necessarily to the fans at home. They're cutting the promo on each other. They're talking to each other. You know, another, I remember this guy from the, you know, 80s and 90s, Jake the Snake. He'd sit there and he didn't, you know, have to set you up precisely for the DDT. He would hit that out of nowhere. And you never seen it coming. Kind of like you fast forward to the 90s and now the 2000s and 2010s with DDP, with the Diamond Cutter, Randy Orton, the RKO. They don't set you up, you know, for it because it's too predictable. They want to hit you out of nowhere to make it a surprise for the fans.
yeah, that's a good example. Yeah.
Great modern day example for that was the Miz's rant on Dana Bryan on Talking Smack.
If he looked into the camera at all, it would have killed that moment.
Yeah.
But looking directly at him made it personal, and you felt that being personal.
I think a great person that when they're talking and they don't talk to the fans, they don't talk to the camera, it's Paul Heyman. He gets you invested in him talking to that person. Like on Talking Smack when Heyman was there, it was always amazing how he would sit there and talk directly to whoever's next to him, like Big E. And he made Big E look like $1 million just by talking to him. You know? That if you talk to the person and not at a camera, I think it makes the promo seem more real. And I think that's one thing that's missing nowadays. Everybody's taking acting classes, you know, trying to find the camera. Okay, I need to step here at this time. No, get the feel for it. Make it be real. You know, CM Punk and MJF's promo battle a couple weeks ago. That wasn't going back and forth with the camera. That was them going back and forth with each other, which made it seem, you know, more realistic.
I guess that plays into, you know, what is it that makes those moments great? What is it that makes a match that you totally buy into it? You know, is it Is it character development? Is it that their characters are so good that you just buy who they are, you believe that's who they are? Is it the story they're telling in the match? Is it their ability? Is it a concoction of all of that? Um, when you think back to the greatest matches you've ever seen, what was it that made that special?
A couple of, in my mind, greatest matches I've ever watched would be, of course, we just made mention of a little bit ago, the Austin Brett match. Great storytelling, and that finish was over a minute long. And it was real. Like, they had Ken there as the enforcer to make those two guys seem like this is legit, this is real, this is what's going to happen. Another time, and not to veer away from the great matches, but what would have happened if DX, when they got Mike Tyson, if he would have came out there with with Vince and those two were talking, and then all of a sudden Stone Cold came out and looked over in the hard cam before he went and flipped off and pushed Mike Tyson. That would have been so cheesy then, But man, when he went and actually looked at him, talked to him, did the boom, pushed him, it was that lit everything up. Those big feels, big moments in wrestling that we remember 10, 20 years from now is the spontaneity ones. The ones that happen spontaneously. Where if it's set up, I don't remember them as much. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I'm going back to sometimes. So sometimes I think it's the little things too. It's the little details, and the Austin Brett match, because I think that match almost sums up a lot of what we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
If Austin's not bleeding the way he's bleeding in that hold, I think you lose some of the effect of what was happening. Sure, you could still have that build up where he's in the sharpshooter for a long time and he passes out. Okay, great. But you add in the fact that he's losing blood and it's just that much more intense of a moment. And I think sometimes it's the details. It's the details within the whole story that just bring the whole thing to life more.
Yeah, well, let's take DX for a moment. Okay, 2 separate times they did 2 separate things, and each one they needed to do that. The great promo of things you cannot say on television. They had the big speech there. They're going off things. They were talking to the fans at that point. But if you fast forward with the promos against Sergeant Slaughter, how much would that have been effective with the whole Sarge spitting in their face when he talks and the wipers going, if they would have been looking at the hard cam the whole time?
Or even looking to the handheld cam guy that was in the ring.
Oh, yeah.
If you look away, because I think in those moments, forget the cameras. Forget that anyone's recording you at that moment, because what you're dealing with is the person in front of you. You're not talking to us at home. You're not even talking to the fans in attendance. You're dealing with the person right in front of you at that time. And if you look away at all into another camera, unless someone's not really paying attention, you lose me. Like, you've lost any credibility to what you're building currently.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said earlier, it makes it cheesy. It makes it corny. And now you have no story to build upon because you've essentially killed it.
Yeah, but then in other sports, it's kind of hard to get that hard cam, if so to speak. because you got the photography there. Like when Muhammad Ali, knocked out who was it? Foreman?
Maybe.
With the shadow punch. And he'll and the famous picture. You know what I mean?
I think so, yeah.
So but yeah, you sit there and that was a pictured monumental moment that was caught on film, caught on in a photo. Those things happen spontaneously. Joe Frazier, that's what it is. But they were caught at the moment. Could you imagine if after he knocked out Joe Frazier and he was standing there, if he would have sit there and like, wait, the hard cam's over here, it would have looked more rigged than it already did look.
Tyson biting Holyfield ear.
Oh, yes.
If he would have stopped for a second and looked into a camera
and spit that ear out.
Well, even right before that, right before he does it, he looks into the camera, "Hi, Mom," and then bites his ear. Now I'm gonna go. Wait, was that planned? Was this whole thing, planned from the beginning that he was supposed to bite his ear? But the fact that he just did it, and you're just like, what just happened? Real life moments. And I think that in wrestling, they need to kind of take cues from that a little bit more. Stop looking at the camera. Because I think you want people invested in what the story is you're trying to tell. And real life moments, in sports, sometimes you got a lot of guys that ham for the camera and things like that, but you're not telling a story, you're playing a sport, right? So it's a little bit different. You're already living the real life aspect, doing a real life thing. But in professional wrestling, you're trying to portray a story. You are portraying characters, and you're trying to get people to believe in what you're doing. Enough of us already know, outside of young kids, that what wrestling is and how it's set up. Knowing that, you're trying to, even just like going to watch a movie, you want to buy into the story. You want to believe the story they're trying to tell you. You want to believe in the character, and you want to believe in what they're trying to do. And if you don't, you're not going to enjoy the movie very much. And you're not going to enjoy a wrestling feud very much if you're not buying in to what they're trying to say. So if they take you out of that at all, I think you've lost everything you're building.
Yes, definitely. Jersey Devil said it best, suspending disbelief. Like, I used to love watching Eddie Guerrero matches where Eddie could do miracles. He sit there, he wouldn't work the hard cam. He would work the camera and the referee at just the right point, and bam, hit a chair, throw it at the guy, and then take a bump. Because it was the spontaneousness of, wait, what just happened? Where if he would have sit there and made the chair noise, threw the chair, looked at the hard cam, and then took the bump, to like, it would have just looked so cheesy. Like, I love how storytelling, you said it earlier, forget about the camera, forget about the people, and just make it believable.
Treat it like, you're watching a television show, right? Some of the shows, and it's not happened a ton, but it has happened in some shows where they break the fourth wall and they're talking to you at home.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I've ever liked that, but treat it like it's a television show, a true television show or a movie. We aren't there now. The fans in attendance, you need that. People who make movies or television shows, a lot of times there isn't a real audience there, so you're not getting any kind of natural reaction to something. But in wrestling, they're there. So you do sort of have to play to them a bit. But those of us watching at home, we're watching a television show. You don't have to interact with us. I'm paying attention and trying to invest my time into what you're doing. You don't have to interact with me. You don't get any reaction from me. You can't see me, you can't hear me. So don't play to me. Play for me. You know, I need to buy into what you're building. You don't have to pay any attention to me at home.
Jersey Devil sit there and has something from Johnny Valentine. I can't make people believe wrestling is real, but I can make them believe that I'm real. And that's all we asked for.
I think that's something that's lacking today is their character development. Nobody believes in who these people are, so a lot of times they don't care what they do.
Or they believe in the characters, and we're saying NXT. All of a sudden, they come up to the main roster, and for some godforsaken reason, they got to get a whole new gimmick. Karrion Kross had an excellent gimmick in NXT. Then now we're going to bring him up, have him lose to Jeff Hardy, give him a mask, and then let him go. Wait, what? Exactly. There's no emotional investment.
You've just destroyed everything he's built up to that point.
Exactly.
And he's basically starting from scratch, and he doesn't even know who he is at this point. If I don't know who I am, how am I going to get you to buy into who I am? So, by taking away what's worked for them, everyone knew who he was in NXT. Well, most people. If you follow all of it, you know who he is. So you know who he is coming up. You've been invested in everything he's done there. They bring him up and they take it all away and give him something new. And now you're going, listen, I don't know who he is now. I knew who he was. And then he's trying to figure it out.
Could you imagine, okay, a couple months ago, the alleged biggest not secret in wrestling history, if all of a sudden some other song hit and it wasn't Cult of Personality, and then CM Punk comes out wearing like a suit and tie. Like, who the fuck is this guy? You know what I mean? AEW goes, oh no, you remember WWE CM Punk. Well, this isn't AEW CM Punk. No, people remember who he was. Stick with the basics. Now, granted, I'm on MJF's side that CM Punk is a cookie cutter John Cena wannabe now, where he has to get cheap pops to get himself over. But man, just let them do what the brand they built, the brand that you supposedly was fine with and built along the way. Let them do it. Because that's what they're comfortable with, that's what the fans want, and that's what you're going to sell the merchandise and get these fans invested.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so much I feel like they do wrong now. And it's easier. I feel like it's easy to watch them and criticize than it is to watch and enjoy. I can't enjoy it. And if you look at everything they've done with Roman here recently, everything he's done since getting this title has been buying time till Brock comes back. That's what it feels like. Nothing he's done up until now felt important, felt significant. You don't even remember who most of his feuds were up to this point.
I remember Rey Mysterio and Cesaro.
Yeah, and where the Cesaro thing basically went nowhere. They should have, in my eyes, should have followed that up. I see what I would have done. They hadn't beat him clean. I don't think they should have beat him clean. Because you didn't have Cesaro have any leg to stand on in trying to get a rematch from him. I think if there was some, even any minuscule interference from one of the Usos, which just gave Roman that much of an advantage to beat Cesaro, where Cesaro can say, listen, you couldn't beat me fair and square. Yeah, you got me, but you didn't get me the right way. So, and then have a drawn out feud. It was like one, all right, see you later, pal. You're knocked down the card again. So you don't make Cesaro a significant player in the game. You've just used him to have a match. Another match for Roman to, retain the title. Is basically all it was. So really it could be enter your face here. It could have been anybody in that spot. Because it doesn't matter. And that's the problem. They could have made Cesaro something more significant out of that. Granted, he doesn't have to stay in the title picture for a long, long time. But you could have built him up into a significant character where later he could come back into the title picture. But you're not going to see that now, maybe ever again. And that's a shame.
Yeah. Like with Roman Reigns, it's just, I feel like it's just next person up to go against him. Like they have not wasted any time building up anybody to go against him. Like they're dangling that carrot of Roman and The Rock. And they're banking that they can make something happen. I don't know if that's ever going to happen.
But even if it does, so if he survives this thing with Brock with the title, and Brock goes away again, and then your next big thing is to have this big moment with The Rock. Great, I'm all for that. I don't think that's a bad thing. What I do think is a bad thing is where do you go after that? If they don't put the title on The Rock and Roman's gone through basically everybody on the roster, he's gone through Brock Lesnar and now The Rock. You're at the top of the mountain and there's nowhere else to go. And you have nobody up there with you because you didn't bring anybody with you. You're up there completely alone. And I feel like that's the same thing that happened to John Cena in the majority of his run. They had no one else but Randy Orton. And if Randy was off doing something else, who did you have with John Cena?
Khali.
Anybody. Yeah, and anyway, it's the same thing they're doing to Roman. It's just feed him a face, feed him a face, feed him a face, and it doesn't matter. None of it matters. None of them matter. The match is over and done with, and they go back to being irrelevant again. So you've done no one a service except for Roman Reigns, and while he does need to look strong to be champion, to a degree, build somebody else up to make these matches significant and mean something.
Okay, so we're going to look at the SmackDown side. Who else do we have there besides Brock? We could possibly have an Edge Roman Reigns feud.
Didn't Edge go to Raw?
Oh, he did?
I think so. I think McIntyre went to SmackDown. So you have
we have McIntyre. We have McIntyre and Roman, but where does that go? That's not a WrestleMania moment. Yeah, you've got your Woods, you got your Kofis, like Mike Cook saying. But
yeah, Kofi, a former champion. You got Xavier Woods, King of the Ring currently.
But does Kofi have any credibility after he got okay? Say Roman beats Brock. Well, Brock destroyed Kofi in a matter of seconds. So is that even going to be credible to put Kofi and Roman in the same feud?
It will in their eyes because they'll just expect that you don't remember that. Or they'll pretend that could never happen.
You do have Sheamus, but Sheamus was already at the top of the mountain many years ago.
Sheamus hasn't really been relevant for a couple of years now.
Yeah, since the bar split up, unfortunately. So Sheamus, I don't see as being a real true contender. He's just another face to feed. So who do you really have on the SmackDown side to bring it up?
it's pretty bad how you have to struggle to think of a
Yeah,
name.
I'm gonna sit there and Google real quick the SmackDown roster.
My wheels spin all the time thinking, when is this ever going to end? When are we ever going to get back to the old days in wrestling when stories matter and characters matter?
Okay, let's see here. Man, we got Baron Corbin.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
He had his shot and blew it.
Jinder Mahal. Been
I don't think
there, done that.
Yep, they don't really believe in him.
Nakamura. He's stuck in mid card funk.
Yeah.
You got Kofi. Ricochet still there. Man, wow. If you look, I'm going to name everybody that's on that roster for SmackDown, and it's a small one. Angel Garza, Happy Corbin, Cesaro, Drew Gulak, Drew McIntyre, Eric, Humberto, Ivar, Jimmy and Jay Uso, Jinder Mahal. It says John Cena, Nakamura, Kofi, Mace, Madcap Moss, Mansoor, Mustafa Ali, Rick Boogs, Ricochet, Ridge Holland, Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn, Shanky, Sheamus, and Xavier Woods.
Pathetic. That's pathetic.
Heck, there are some women on the SmackDown roster, in my opinion, that would have a better shot against Roman Reigns than they would. Shayna Baszler being one of them. Possibly Sonya Deville. They always sit there and said that Charlotte was the best pure athlete in sports. So, yeah, right there's SmackDown's roster. And I honestly think if you would give a gauntlet match with Roman Reigns in the SmackDown roster, Roman Reigns is taking out 3/4 of that roster easily.
Yeah. So I feel like out of that entire list, and not so much that it's any of their faults, it's the way they're used and the way they're built up. So I would choose. There was 4 names I think listed, possibly 5.
And we're not going to include John Cena.
No, because didn't they just do that not that long ago?
Yes.
So yeah, that's done. You're not going to go back to that. I'd say Kofi, Sheamus, Cesaro, Drew McIntyre, and Kofi. Is the possible?
You said Kofi twice.
Did I say Kofi already?
Yeah.
Kofi, Sheamus, Cesaro, Drew McIntyre, and Nakamura. That would be, and I'd say Nakamura maybe is the maybe. You gotta, first of all, you gotta get rid of him and Boogs together. I can't stand. It's stupid, and it's annoying. So you get rid of that. Go back to how he first came in, and build him up properly.
Who are we talking about?
Nakamura. Go back to the beginning. Go back to when he first came over. How they had him then. You know, the King of Strong Style, all that stuff. He was wildly popular, and then they just, I don't know what it was, but they just kind of took it all away, and he's just a joke thing now. And so before you take any of those other 4, you're going to have to severely improve them.
Oh,
Cesaro needs to start looking strong. Sheamus needs to start looking strong again. Drew McIntyre's okay. He's already been kind of that guy for a while now. And Kofi can get back in the picture again. But they all need massively improved. and have some time spent building them up to look like legitimate threats to the title. If no one's a threat to the title, no one's going to believe that Roman's going to lose it, and he's just going to continue on, unless it's some kind of fluke win somebody gets on him.
Well, Roman Reigns hasn't been beaten over 2 years. He has not had his shoulders pinned to the ground in over 2 years. So, man, I just...
He's just stacking and smashing guys left and right.
Yeah. Now, do you see... I don't see how they'll do it. But do you see maybe a possible turn for the Usos? Where they're tired of being the people in the back and maybe do a 2-on-1, a handicap match. You know,
it's possible.
They don't have to. They don't have to win clean. They don't. Heck, they could do it an angle where they're tired of the whole being second fiddle.
Well,
and possibly do which one was the one that's the drunk? They got the DUI. Jimmy. They could sit there and do something where, mid-match or towards the end of the match, maybe it was a Roman and Jay wanted to test Jimmy's loyalty. And, they turn on him, take him out of the picture for a while. They just need to do something. That whole roster shakeup killed them because a lot of their bigger stars went over to Raw. You got Big E over there now. You got Lashley. You got AJ. Edge, as you mentioned. Orton's over there.
Seth Rollins.
Seth Rollins. So, man, if you think even some up and coming people, you have. I'm not a big fan of them, but man, Orton's partner.
Oh, yeah.
Bro.
Yeah, that guy.
But you have him over there you could build up. There's more people in NXT. Matt Riddle. Yes.
Yeah.
There's more people in NXT that they have a chance of building up to go up against Roman Reigns than they have on their own SmackDown roster.
Yeah, it's sad. It's really, really sad. And they're going to basically waste this time with him as champion. Yeah, hasn't been beaten in 2 years, but big whoop. What's he gone up against? You're only as good as your competition. And if you have no competition, then you're really not that good, in my view. Man, imagine Michael Jordan, all his 6 rings. And he faced the crappiest teams. They somehow the 8th seed somehow made it to the finals. So really, it's the worst of the playoff teams, and he crushes them every time. They're going to look super strong because their competition isn't as good as they are. So you're going to sit here and go, yeah, 6-0, big deal. He didn't beat anybody. Thankfully, the teams he did play were decent teams, but if you could do that, you could say it's not meaningful. It doesn't mean anything. So Roman's 2-year no-loss thing, it's not going to mean anything because his competition's been so weak.
Yeah, you think of the teams Jordan went up against in those 90s. The Knicks.
Sorry, Bug, you're late to the being late to the party there.
You're late to the party, but I really hope you did buy one of those Cult of Beardo shirts.
They would have been great Christmas gifts.
Yeah. Head on over to brainbustertees.com /other/front-road-material and Get all your front row material merchandise, Boog. Yes, you heard it here. Get your Call to Beardo. Get your 6 Degrees of Ritt and Renegade. Your FRM pod stamp and Ritt and Freeland. Plus, Future Stars Now. Get on over there. Get the merchandise. We love it. And
trade in those cruddy socks and underwear gifts you get. Get yourself some FRM merch.
Man, Call to freaking Beardo. Yes, Boog. You better have freaking bought yourself a hoodie, a onesie, a freaking shirt, a beanie, stickers. You better got it all for being the #1 Call to Beardo fans. And you can watch us every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Myself, Renegade, Butt, and the elusive Taylor Murray.
We need to get onesies for the butt, and it has a butt flap in the back.
Well, if you just don't button the bottom, would it just not end up being a butt flap anyways?
I mean, you got to be careful though.
Well, we do, or he does it. He doesn't button up his junk in it. Could you imagine him just like letting it all hang out?
There's pajamas with 3 legs in them, right?
Oh, gonna have to.
3-legged pajamas.
Oh man, could you imagine?
And they're all footed pajamas too. They're all footed.
Oh, they're gonna have to be.
Yeah.
You know, freaking Rodzilla down there. You know, when's that? When is that? That picture coming out? Where I know you threw the script at him, and it was shot in a double take. It was Rodzilla versus King Dong, and Butt played both parts going at each other. Like, where's that script at? It's got to be somewhere.
It's still a work in progress. I think we scrapped it for a while because it wasn't coming together well. So we were throwing in Rodzilla, Dong of the Monsters. So yeah, it's still up in the air. It's a work in progress. So we'll get back to working on. There was just some plot holes that we were missing.
Speaking of plot holes you're missing, Boog wants to know, when is the Da Vinci Load coming out?
Hadn't thought of that one, so we might have to give you a writing credit there. We'll get to work on that. Tom Spanks.
Hey, I can't wait till next year, front row material, when we throw out best movie Butt starred in.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
Oh man, it's gonna be great. But guys, make sure you check out tomorrow night. 8 p.m. special start time. 8 p.m. We're gonna go an hour. Talk about some, bring up some of the year-end awards before we take a break and interview Angelina Love to go back to the panel again. So, but man, could you imagine? Here we go. We're gonna piece this all together here, Renegade. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Could you imagine? Right before the money shot, Butt looks over, gives him the thumbs up, and then boom, it's everywhere. You don't want to see that.
No, I don't think anyone wants to see anyone do that ever. Just like
yeah. Oh man.
No.
You want the spontaneousness.
Imagine just seeing that that's the whole shot. Every scene, every shot's just the guy's just hamming it in hard cam. Like I'm out, man. Like this is
here comes Jersey Devil, giving a new meaning to the hard cam. And then you have Vince there. She's gonna puke. She's gonna puke.
I think I'm gonna puke by watching this thing.
Yeah. Wait! Oh my God! You for a minute there, you sounded like Mr. Farley on Three's Company.
Jack!
Oh, man.
Jack's gay.
Man, can you sit there and imagine, come and knock on my door, Butt is waiting for you. Oh, man.
Oh, Buck could do a Three's Company's spoof there.
Oh, man. That'd be great. I don't think he was in this one. Foreskin Gump?
I think I had Forrest Hump. Is what I had.
I think Foreskin Gump was supposed to be the original, but then, well, someone's not circumcised.
Yeah, something really. Again, believability, right? You have to be invested in the reality of the situation.
Yeah, you know, if they would have seen Butt Star and Foreskin Gump, and then all of a sudden they would have seen his little Jewish sausage. Like, wait a minute, what's going on here, guys?
But Rubworm or the turtleneck. But
yeah, be looking like one of those turtles on Mario. Do 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 do. Yeah. Oh, Forrest Hump, uncut.
Life is like a box of condoms. You never know when she's getting wet.
Oh my God. We got tomorrow night on the podcast. We've got to get Butt to say that. That'd be fantastic. I'll have it scrolling across the bottom like a teleprompter. I'm like, Butt, you got to read this. Oh, man. But yeah, believability. If you don't believe in the product, you don't believe what's going on, you're never even going to, you're going to be like, it's wrestling. Click. It's 2.5 men that I've seen the episode 36 times. But hey, Charlie Sheen was believable.
What gets you to buy into the pay-per-view? Right? It's the story that they're telling you. You want to see it come to full blows. You want to see how it's all going to wrap up at the pay-per-view. But most of the time it's so predictable you don't even care. And the stories are so dry and boring, you don't care what the outcome is. And that's what's, I feel like, turned a lot of people away. Man, late 90s, early 2000s, in its heyday, you bought into. I remember thinking, now granted, I think if I went back and really dug into the roster, I would probably say, okay, maybe it's not as great as I thought. But I feel like late 90s, early 2000s, the roster was loaded. And you cared about just about everybody that was there and everything that was happening. You remember it was a huge match. And I think if it was anyone today, you wouldn't care. But it was the New Age Outlaws against Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie. And they had the whole dumpster thing, and the dumpster goes off the stage, and everyone's out there freaking out and crying. And it was so awesome how they told that story.
Was that the night that they joined DX?
I feel like they were already in DX, but you could be right. But how that all went down, you were so invested in what was going on. And those guys were essentially mid-card. If that was mid-card guys today, you would say, throw them all in the dumpster, push the dumpster off the stage. Who cares? Like, no one cares about these characters. But that was such a big moment for mid-card talent. The rosters were deep, and there was so much great stuff throughout the entire show. Yeah, it was 2 hours then instead of 3 now. And I feel like they really struggle now to fill 3 hours out. And keep it relevant.
Not only that, the writers have 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of NXT, 2 hours of SmackDown, plus a pay-per-view. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, that's 7 hours. That's 28 hours a month, plus a friggin' 3-4 hour pay-per-view. That's 31 hours of live television that you have to come up with stuff and keep people coming back.
And they're not doing a great job of that. So 3 hours of a boring Raw with 2.5 hours of replays of what happened in the first 20 minutes, I don't really care, But in the, during those the heydays there, I mean, everybody was in something seemingly meaningful, and you cared. Pay-per-views were great, almost start to finish. Instead of now, you just kind of catch the main event, and that's all I need to see.
Did you sit there and remember when the European title meant something? Even the hardcore title, for as cheesy as it was
entertaining.
Had great matches, and it was entertaining.
Compare that now to the 24/7 title, which is meaningless, and it's a total joke and a waste of time.
Could you imagine, right, taking the women's matches of now to put it on that male roster? Like, you would have been pissing your pants.
You're not getting up for anything.
No, you want to know. Now, all of a sudden, you're in the bathroom for all but the last 15 minutes of the show.
Yes, D'Lo Brown was more compelling of a character than most of the people they have now, and he was one of the lowest members of the Nation of Domination. Right, he wasn't one of the main guys. He wasn't The Rock. He wasn't Farouk, but he was there. But he is more compelling than most of the people they have now. The roster was so deep then. It makes me long for those days. Right, you had just great characters, top to bottom. Everybody was entertaining to watch. You don't really. Maybe there's 3 guys now you care about.
Yeah,
if you're lucky.
So. Well, Renegade, it's about time we stop babbling, and it's time to take her home, fella. Another great episode of 6 Degrees of Ritt and Renegades in the books. Tune in tomorrow night, FRM Pod, 8 p.m. Year-end awards, and one of our great guests, one half of the beautiful people from Impact Wrestling, Angelina Love. And then Thursday, Cult of Beardo, we break down Crush's career. And then Friday, we've got Fox Vineyard on. We're going to talk to him about his little road trip down to AEW this week. So, guys, it was great talking to you. He is the Renegade. I am the Ritt. And remember, apple juice